Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. I'm going to rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Mr. Scott, can you call the roll?
Sure. Mrs. Albright.
Here.
Okay, Mrs. Bell.
Here.
Mrs. Jarrett.
Call him again at the end.
Call me again at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mrs. Leone.
Here.
All right. Mrs. Olson.
Here.
Mr. Rittenhouse. Here. Mr. Scott. Here. Mrs. Joel. Here. Mrs. Thompson.
Here.
Okay.
Hello.
Close.
Hi, are you here? Okay, hold on.
He's here.
Go ahead and call his name again.
Mr. Jarrett. I don't see you, but okay.
All right. So, all right. So superintendent's report. We don't have a superintendent's report today. Dr. Cooper couldn't be with us. Procedures for public participation. We have prepared. If you have a prepared statement to be read to the board, you should have a copy presented to the board prior to their being addressed. Comments on agenda items will be made by rising and approaching the microphone, stating your name and address, signing in on the sheet provided. You'll be granted up to 3 minutes to address the board. The 3-minute time limit will start when you begin to speak. 3 minutes are over, you'll be asked to be seated. Any item that is not on the agenda, as well as agenda items acted upon, comments on those can be made at the designated section at the end of the agenda. Having said that, do we have presentations by the public on any agenda items? Okay, seeing none. Announcements. We have no agenda edits, and there will be an executive session after tonight's meeting to discuss negotiations and personnel. So for consent items, under 3A, 1 through 8, do I have a motion for those?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Strobel, do I have a second?
I'll make it.
I'll second.
It's up to you.
No.
Do we have any comments, questions, concerns from the board on the items under consent items? Can I get a vote?
Mrs. Albright. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mrs. Albright.
Yes.
Mrs. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett.
Yes.
Mrs. Leone.
Yes.
Mrs. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse.
Yes.
Mr. Scott. Yes. Mr. Strobel.
Yes.
And Mrs. Thompson.
Yes.
9 yeses.
Okay. Personnel consent items. 4A, 1. Do I have a motion for that?
Motion.
Okay, a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Strobel, any comments, questions, concerns under personnel? Can I get a vote?
Sure. Mrs. Albright.
Yes.
Mrs. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett.
Yes.
Mrs. Leone.
Yes.
Mrs. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse.
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes. Mr. Strobel.
Yes.
And Mrs. Thompson.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
And let me just point out that under 4A111, Mr. Sowers is here in the audience today. He will be our new French teacher. We are very happy to have him. I know no French, so I can't say anything nice to you.
He probably has
But in English, we welcome you, and thanks. We're glad that you accepted our offer.
Come on.
All right, moving on to finance. 5A1. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Okay, this is for the water softener, and at the middle school. Any comments, questions, concerns on this? Okay, can I get a vote?
Mrs. Albright,
Yes.
Mrs. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett,
Yes.
Mrs. Leone,
Yes.
Mrs. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes, Mr. Strobel,
Yes.
and Mrs. Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, so programs added consent, we had none. Personnel added consent, we had several. 7A1 through 4. Can I get a motion for those?
I'll make it.
Mr. Strobel, can I get a second?
I'll make it.
Mrs. Owens is just making sure that people can hear me at home because I forgot to push the unmute button. I didn't do it on purpose, I swear. Any comments, questions, concerns on
Who did the
added
second?
consent?
I said it, but someone else I thought said it at the same
I
time.
thought Mr. Strobel said it.
No, he said. he was-
Oh, so I need a second then.
I'll second.
Ms. Thompson. Comments, questions, concerns on personnel added? Can I get a vote on that?
Sure. Mrs. Albright,
Yes.
Mrs. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett,
Yes.
Mrs. Leone,
Yes.
Miss Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes, Mr. Strobel,
Yes.
and Mrs. Thompson.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, home stretch, old business, 8A1. Can I get a motion? You okay to second?
Yes.
Ms. Leone? This is on the committee of the whole meeting minutes. Any comments, questions, concerns? Can I get a vote?
Sure. Mrs. Albright,
Yes.
Mrs. Bell,
Yes.
Mrs. Jarrett,
Yes.
Mrs. Leone,
Yes.
Miss Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes, Mr. Strobel,
Yes.
and Mrs. Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, there's nothing under new business. So that leads us to presentations by the public on issues. Anyone who'd like to come up? Did I skip something?
No, it just went up quick.
Oh, yeah.
We just couldn't wait to hear your commentary.
Can you hear me up?
Yeah,
Okay.
Better.
Shane Conkle, 830 Daggertown Road. I'm here to talk about your TIF, TIF financing that you're thinking about doing with Amity Township. I do not believe you should be getting involved in this. The risk of worst case scenario of the school district paying out hundreds of thousands of dollars every year until this is paid off is pretty scary. I pulled some of the papers here I have. The property that's being sold is 95 acres and that's being sold for $5.6 million. I think if a developer is willing to pay $5.6 million, they can fund the sewer to get there. For the $5.6 million, they're going to be able to put 340 units in there. That $5 million that's coming from the taxpayers of the school district and Amity Township breaks down to about $15,000 per unit. That's all they would have to ask for. So if a unit is selling for $400, they would just have to up it by $15,000. It's paid off. You have another I pulled out, most of the large properties are owned by investment companies. One, which is WP Investments, which is Mascaro Brothers, billion-dollar company. They own thousands and thousands of acres all up and down the East Coast, especially here in Pennsylvania. I think they can chip in and pay for sewer if they need it. But the reason I'm bringing up that one particularly is 182 acres, which is 1/3. And most of the land that they buy is just sits as land. So if the school district is looking for future funding from that being developed, more than likely it won't be developed. I talked to the state for about over an hour. They said within the last 10 years, only 8 of these TIFs actually went through. One actually went bankrupt, and they were out millions of dollars. They sheriff saled the property, went for $10,000, and the person who bought it was a neighbor, and he never developed the property, so there was millions of dollars of infrastructure that taxpayers forego, and the development never got built. So I would like to come to any of these public meetings, and hopefully they're public meetings before you guys make your final decisions, because this is really scary. I know the school district have made mistakes in the past which cost taxpayers lots of money, boards prior to your board. So I know you're saying I know. You really need to add a few more minutes.
You just need to talk faster. Spit it out, Shane.
We
Spit
go,
it out.
you know, one more sentence.
No, I was gonna say, if anyone has any questions, because I'm on the
Yeah, I know I saw.
I'm on the planning commission in Union Township. I took went for my real estate license. I'm a licensed auctioneer. I know a lot about development. I know a lot about,
Thank you, Shane.
so.
You did a good job. Good job. 5.
Rules only mean something if everybody follows them.
There's other people coming, they don't care.
It's your husband.
Buddy.
You're sitting there smiling. I get that look sometimes, Jimmy. I know what that means.
Valerie Amity. Talking about the school musical, James and I had the luxury of helping out on Saturday building sets and painting. It was super exciting. We did run out of paint, and that brought up some conversations with regards to, hey, we need to buy more paint. We can't buy more paint. We need money to buy paint. And I was willing to offer to buy, we need at least a minimum of 5 gallons of white paint, but that's just at minimum. And when I said, well, don't we have a budget? Can we just pay for some of these expenses? They said, no, we don't have a budget. They've been grabbing the money out of the, the activities fund. And so I said, well, I was under the impression that you guys did have a budget. I was like, so this is news to me. And so, again, I'm going to mention it. Maybe it's something that needs to be communicated to them in the event they do have a budget. But we are running close to showtime, and there's lots of stuff that still needs to be built. Painted, I mean, a lot of the dads in the community came out, and that was really awesome to see. And then there was kids there painting. I mean, everybody's willing to come and help. We need the supplies, we need the tools, we need to make it happen. I personally would like to see Daniel Boone be known for its talent, and it's really hard to have that be showcased if you really don't have the resources to showcase that. I mean, the kids, this is the first year they've done it since COVID, I guess since 2019, so we actually did have to take down some sets from, I guess it was Mary Poppins or Seussical, I don't know what it was, whatever, what that. And so a lot of these kids have never performed. They've never done. And what happens this year will set the stage for any of the younger classmen coming up and having the courage to actually perform. It's really important. We person for children to really get involved in music activities, me from the inner city. That was how I really got out of the inner city, was performing in music and all that stuff. So that I am just encouraged that that is a tool. If we are a district that prides itself on education, that is something we really do need to invest in.
Tell what I did. You have a couple times, those are great. Tell what I
No,
did, please.
we're good. Thank you.
Come on, Jay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna go last.
Gretchen Markle, Pearl Street Brisbane. I'm just following up from what I commented on last week about the gross survey that the kids were given. Have you guys talked about it? Have you made any type of decisions to talk to the teacher and get this out of our school and not teaching our kids this garbage? And
I did follow up. I did. I talked to Mrs. Owens, and we determined that this has been, it was posted on the site, but I can read it to you. It says that these standards are addressed in 11th and 12th grade, and then the standards are listed. National Health Standard number 1, students will comprehend concepts related to health promotion and disease prevention to enhance health. Standard 2, that we will discuss the importance of healthy relationships on their social, emotional, intellectual, and physical health, and discuss the possible implications of unhealthy relationships on personal health and wellness. What, Jimmy?
SEO.
No, I'm just reading.
I'll read it. I'll go online.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to read it to you,
Okay.
but, and then
I appreciate
it is policy 105.2 that parents, guardians, caregivers do have the opportunity to have their children excused from this lesson.
Okay. Okay.
So, no, I mean, it is listed, it's on the website, I did investigate it, and the only other suggestion that I had is maybe, perhaps forewarning parents that they knew to look for it would be a solution,
Yeah.
but it is one part of the state standards.
Okay, thank you. I have a follow-up question on the tip stuff,
Oh,
which is,
yeah, I
thank you.
don't know anything about that.
So, actually, I think there should be community, you should have meetings with the community. This is a huge gamble. I mean, I don't know if y'all were here for Taj Mahal football stadium where the track is not, there's not enough lanes for the kids to run. This is a huge gamble, and we can't afford, and we're going into where the market's gonna collapse any day, so doing this is pretty huge. You know, people can barely afford to put food on the table and keep their houses heated, and then, you know, doing this huge gamble at a huge loss. And who's gonna pay for it? We are. So, anyway, thanks, guys.
I just want to say, when the tip was originally brought up, it was, the market was on fire.
Yeah.
And it sounded like a total win for the
Yeah.
district to me. So, I mean, now things have changed, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway,
I'm not even going to pretend that I understand all the nuances of it, but when it was presented to us, I believe it was presented as a no-lose situation.
Okay.
So that's what we were working on, so now that that has changed,
Well,
it is being
educating guys.
investigated.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to add that I also, the questionnaire that you presented, I also reached out to teachers and staff about, and I was advised that the students were told at the beginning of the class if there was anything uncomfortable in the questionnaire, that they did not have to complete it, they could skip over it, whatever it was. So I understand that's separate from the parents, but they were told that if there's anything uncomfortable about it for them, that they didn't have to participate in that.
But would you want your children doing that? Would you want them participating in a survey like that?
I don't want difference of opinion.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's the way.
No, you guys go home.
Anyone
Let it.
else?
I wanna be
Anyone
last.
else want to come up to the microphone?
Oh, and I forgot the batteries, off next time.
So, good evening.
evening. I would first like to say how upset I was at the last meeting, especially since no one came to stop Dr. Cooper yelling in my face. I do not know why President made him act in such an unprofessional way. I also listened to the recording and am curious to why my question to Dr. Cooper was deleted. It's not on there. So someone did edit the recording. When Kathleen Haynes interrupted me while I was speaking, I was told enough. And even when I said she started, I was told again. I said, please, enough. I said, I'm done. Again, no one stopped Dr. Cooper when he was screaming in my face. Yes, the love I had for the place I worked was the first reason I started coming to board meetings. As I sat and listened to the president say to everyone, she'd rather go with unknowns, and then a few times there were, that was my misunderstanding, or that was my fault. Also, when I saw her at the grocery store and just told her I don't care who gets the contract, I said it's about transparency. I was told the administration wants what they want and they will get what they want. Now to find out, both our superintendent and CFO will not be completing their full term on a contract they both signed and both retiring early at the end of the school year. Yes, of course I have questions. I asked Mr. Strobel if he goes over the check register for bills to be paid out for a few reasons. When I saw they gave this new company $800,000 startup fee and was asked all board members if they were aware, everyone just looked at each other in a shocking way. I've never accused anyone of anything. I have simply asked questions to what I have gone over. I have a total of 4 kids in this district and one that already graduated, 5. I know that a few times my 2 that are in the IC have come home telling me how they have split their classrooms and go into other classrooms as teachers were sick and they had no substitutes. Is there a shortage in teachers? Is there a shortage in substitute teachers? Why are these classrooms being overcrowded? I don't know, that's why I'm asking.
No, there
I don't know.
Statewide, nationwide, actually.
Yes, I don't know, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
I asked why Christ is not paying to park buses, as I've heard so many times that you go with the cheapest option. You lost local tax. Now we have a company that you have given a check to, does not pay local tax, has not fulfilled their part, and gets to park buses for free. Also fuels buses at all our local gas stations. This is not just about transportation, this is about our budget, our kids, parents, and taxpayers. Why aren't we charging this company that could go back into school funds? Have you seen the MS parking lot? It's horrible. I go there every weekend for basketball. I also brought up the charge for fuel to be pumped at Klein's lot and transported down the road to Halter. I would like to know why you paid Oz Properties $5,475 to transport and deliver a fuel. Anyone that does not know, Oz Properties bought new roads, and curious why that much was paid to transport a fuel.
Time. Gotta talk next to her.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Oh, almost good to go, I guess I'll do it.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
I'm good.
Jimmy.
Mr. Jerick says hello from
Hello.
home.
Here. I sent these 2 copies to everybody. I just didn't send the picture because
Oh, okay.
I don't want to fire you guys with a bunch of emails, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I got the emails before the meeting today.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to talk about, I sent 2 emails to everyone this evening. One I want to talk about, and then one, I want to talk about both of them, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail and read some of the information from the one. The one I said, Pennsylvania School Board bans pro-Black Lives Matter, pro-LGBT messaging in classrooms, also Trump and all, Trump, MAGA, all that stuff in classrooms. And this was in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, so I think you guys should just really read the article, and I think we should probably consider doing something like this in Daniel Boone as well. Be banning all this propaganda, stuff that teachers are posting in their classroom. I guess one of the things that, I didn't send it to you guys, like I said, but I can, if you guys want me to send you this TikTok picture of what was taken in a classroom, in a first grade classroom, I'll do that. It says first grade teacher boasts about celebrating pride in her classroom with a progressive flag and offering books to kids about gender identity, including a book about a toddler who became transgender. This is in a first grade classroom. I don't think it's appropriate. Teachers, they probably won't do it here someday, who knows, but I'm just saying, this is allowed to happen in classrooms, let's say we're gonna creep up in our backyard. This is the one thing that I got, it was on, I don't remember where it was, I sent the link, Fox News, Pennsylvania School District encouraging teachers to not disclose students' gender identity to parents. My guess is I read it and it was actually if your student decides they're transgender, they're not gonna let you know, they're gonna keep it disclosed. A school district in Pennsylvania recently released a proposed policy that prohibits educators from informing parents of their children's gender identity or preferred pronouns unless required by law. The Upper School Moreland School District proposed policy on transgender and gender diverse students was discussed at a school board meeting on January 17th. Pronouns use of preferred bathrooms and diversity training for staff are all covered under this new policy. The guidelines offer definition of various terms of gender identity, including biological sex, gender fluid, gender queer, and questioning. The proposed policy, teachers and staff advised against informing parents of their child's gender identity or pronoun usage unless required by law. When talking to parents, the guide states school personnel should solely focus on addressing school-related topics. Then it says, it goes on and on about things, but it says parents give permission for schools to administer Tylenol or children's photos on a flyer. It's a complete betrayal of trust for a school to withhold information and deliberately deceiving parents about their children's gender identity at schools as much more consequential issue than taking Tylenol. I mean, it goes on and on, but I sent you the letter so you guys are aware of what's going on in the schools in our backyard. This was in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, which is close.
Thank you, Jimmy. You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, so do I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
I'll make it.
All right, we're adjourned, everybody.